Hello, my name is Mike Craig, and I'm from Dell in Central Texas. And in fact, today I brought a shirt from Texas for the first person who asks a really good question. There's no pressure to actually wear the shirt. If you don't like Texas, I suppose you could step on it. So once you get it, you'll have the option to do with it what you will. So thanks so much to the OWASP leadership and to the sponsors of this conference. I've just been blown away by how much fun it's been to be in Stockholm, and the dinner last night was incredible. The talks yesterday were fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and get rolling here. Do feel free to interrupt me with questions, and I'll try to remember to repeat the question so that everybody can hear. So with that, I'd like to talk about Dell's application security program. And this is an overview of what I'll be talking about. If something jumps out at you on one of the slides and I don't cover it, do feel free to ask about it, or we can cover it at the end. So the team that I lead is called Security Consulting. We're one of 5 of the groups in the Global Information Security Services organization. What we do is offer consulting to product group, services, and IT for the company. We work with all of those areas. We're not so far externally facing, so we're not working with external customers, we're working with internal Dell business partners. One of the first things I noticed when I joined the team, the security consulting team proper, was that there was a lack of a secure application development standard. So we have policies and standards, of course, that are published on our intranet, but this was a gap. And apparently there had been a rewrite of the policies and standards, and somehow that had fallen off the to-do list. So that was one of my first tasks when I joined the team, was to create a secure application development standard. And it was crucial for us to have both bottom-up and top-down support for the standard. So in order to get buy-in, we worked with developers and talked to them about our program, what requirements we were going to have for them. We also met with IT vice presidents to make sure that they understood what time commitment they were agreeing to. So the creation of the standard was essential for us to be able to work with project teams going forward. We could point back to the standard and say, this is what your VP has agreed to do. We've also got a fairly sizable education and training program. We have a requirement that developers, when they onboard, take a developing secure systems course. And each year thereafter, we have 12 short courses. These are 30-minute refreshers on particular technologies. For example, if all they deal with is SQL Server all day long, we don't want them to take the whole developing secure systems course. We want them to be able to take a course that they can focus in on that applies to their job. And some of them may actually want to take 2 or 3 of those. For the developing secure systems course, I might say also that we borrowed a course from a large insurance company. The training vendor approached us and said, hey, we've got this great course, we just developed it with them. If you like, we can customize it a bit and make it work for your company. And we did that because it saved us a great deal of development time. I don't know if you put together a course on developing secure systems for a large developer community, but it can be very time consuming. We've got a lot of challenges. I'm sure you're wondering about our pain points. I would say standardization issues are something that take a lot of time for us. In particular, our developer desktops are not particularly standardized. They can use whatever OS, they can use whatever development environment they want. So having a source code analyzer that works with all those different environments, that takes up quite a bit of our time to make sure we troubleshoot and help them get going. We've got security development lifecycle checkpoints in the SDLC, and the SDLC was perceived as being way too bureaucratic at our company about 4 years ago. So they streamlined it. They made it a lot leaner and meaner. And as a security team, it was a challenge for us to put just a couple of checkpoints in there to make sure that they came to the security team, got engaged, but that it wasn't seen as too much red tape, too bureaucratic. So we put 2 main touch points. The first was a security risk assessment. So it's an online tool where they answer a series of questions based on the engagement type, and it pops out a risk rating. The other touch point is source code analysis. And depending on the risk rating from that first step, there could be other requirements as well, but we decided not to embed those into the SDLC proper. We wanted to keep our 2 checkpoints there very simple and straightforward. So the SDLC that I depict here is for a traditional model, and we also have Agile SDL checkpoints. I know there are a couple of other discussions about Agile development methods. We've got about 15% of our development teams that use Agile methods, and I don't see it really getting much bigger than that. So that seems to be kind of the happy medium, about 15% of our teams. Partnerships with various groups around the company in legal and privacy and compliance have been essential, because if you've worked in IT for very long, certainly you've experienced reorganizations, management changes, things like that. What has helped our program endure quite a bit is that we have built bridges with several sister organizations, and instead of just looking at who we report to and what vice president we're under, they know our names and our faces. They know to come to us with security questions. So having those alliances has been essential to help us survive reorganization. Talking specifically about our team, we've got 10 team members around the globe, 3 in Brazil, 3 in India, 4 in the US, 1 in Malaysia. So we don't really have a follow the sun model. Rather, we have engagements where we try to align people up with time zone, but it doesn't always completely work that way. We back each other up, and pretty much any time of day, we've got somebody that can answer an urgent email. We've got definitely got some great employees in some hot labor markets, and we're so happy with the talent that we found, for example, in Brazil and India. One of the challenges, though, is that other companies agree that we've got very talented people, so they try to hire them away. So retaining good people is a constant challenge. As far as the division of labor of security consultants, we take a very holistic approach, and everybody needs to be a generalist across database, applications, and infrastructure. So my own background is with development. In fact, I have to confess, the first 7 years of my development life, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to security. But as I gradually got more and more involved in security subject matter with my development practice, I got more and more interested in secure development methods and then joined the team. But we've got specialists with infrastructure security, database security, and at any given time, we've got kind of a lead for each of those 3 areas. I want to pause for questions now. Does anybody have any questions at this point about our program? Nothing at all? Yes, question please?
How many years have you been running this?
This is a great question. So it's how many years have we been running the program? It's about 4 years old. And prior to that time, we had 1 person at the whole company responsible for application security. In fact, you were the first questioner, right? I believe this will be yours at the end. So thank you. We had 1 application security person about 5 years ago. That person left the company, and then we got a great new manager, Phil Agkaweli, who kind of reinvigorated the program. He's since left the company, but he built the program from 1 consultant up to 10. So over the period of 4 years, we gradually gained capability, and at the bottom here, you'll see a statistic. So what's not shown is 2007, we had something like 30 project engagements. And then the first real year of the program, 420. And then after that, almost doubled, and we've got 200 already in the first quarter of this year. So I think the program is getting a lot of traction. I don't want to say that we're perfect, but we're not failing by any means. We're still gaining acceptance around the company. Yeah, question?
So you have 10 consultants.
Yes.
Working. How can you manage 200 projects only on the first quarter?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So we've got 10 consultants, 200 projects in the first quarter. How do we manage the workload? And what we do is we take a risk-based approach, so that risk assessment questionnaire that they fill out, we'll group them into low, medium, and high risk. The high risk turn out to be about 1/4 of all engagements. So we focus most of our attention on those 1/4 of projects that we consider high risk. We point the low and medium risk projects to self-help documentation. As we were building the program, we honestly didn't have as many customers from internal Dell that we wanted, so we spent a lot of time developing self-help documentation. That turned out to be time very well spent, so people can go there and figure out a lot of the answers to their questions on their own. Yeah, question? Follow-up?
When you do get into a
That's a good question. So do we line up like one security consultant per project? And typically the answer is yes, but we certainly bring in experts from the other fields of expertise. For example, my background is application security. If I'm working on an infrastructure security project, then I'm going to talk to our infrastructure expert if I have questions. So we might tag team on that one, if that makes sense. Yeah, one more, sure.
How much time are you devoting per consultant in these or these projects?
How much time are we devoting per consultant to each project? And that varies widely. It depends a lot on the consultant's workload at the time. So at pretty much every day, we're doing a risk assessment of our current project portfolio. We're doing it intuitively. I don't want to say that there's a spreadsheet where we've got a numerical value that says this is higher risk, this is lower risk, or whatever. But within that band of high risk, we're constantly adjusting our priorities and determining what kind of resources to bring to bear. And if it's something really big, like a big new product launch, or a new service we're going to offer to external customers, or if it's a big redesign for our e-commerce site, then we're going to throw a lot more heads at the problem. So we try to follow the risk, and every day we try to make sure that whatever we're doing with regard to application security or database security or infrastructure security is the most bang for the buck, basically. We want to make sure that our investment, that we get the best return on investment by reducing risks for the corporation as much as possible. Thanks for the questions, I appreciate that. Any more at this point? Yeah, question?
How did you manage to sell the program to the top management, to tell them that we're going to do the same activities, but they're going to take more time now?
Right. So how did we sell this program to upper management? And I think, so we had to have bottom-up success stories from individual development teams that were willing to partner with us. And we found, fortunately, some influential developers, some senior developers who were, for example, interested in using our source code analysis tool. Because the 4-year program that I'm talking about, one of the early components was source code analysis. And we showed some early successes. We found great developers who ran the tool and who found security vulnerabilities in their code. And they were, everybody wants to write good code. They were alarmed, they took action, and we could take that success story to vice presidents and say, look at this, this works. This kept you from having to pull back code from out of production to fix something. So I think that was a key to selling the program. Of course, compliance requirements with regard to payment card industry or SOX in the US, HIPAA, those sorts of requirements play a part, and executives do need to hear that message, but I think even more compelling was to hear that some of their experienced developers got value out of our program. Yeah, question please? How long did it take to build our documentation? It really did evolve over the 4 years. In fact, we're now to the point that we need to go back and revisit some of those early documents and revise them. And we've had so much business that we haven't had time to go back and revise them. And now we do it kind of on request. If someone says, hey, this looks stale, then we'll go back and update it. But I would say we have documents in the hundreds, frequently asked questions. I think that was a key success factor for us. In fact, if we found a solution that worked for someone to solve a particular problem, we documented it, put it on our SharePoint, and that way we could refer back to it and help other people with the same kind of problems. And it's a searchable interface, so yes, other.
Yeah, that was my question. How did you distribute this knowledge within the organization?
So knowledge management is a huge challenge for any company. We're no different, and I think we've hopefully struck the right balance of linking to other sources outside of our own site, and also making our site organized and easy to navigate. I don't know, I think it's something you have to fine tune on a regular basis, and we do seek feedback from teams who can't seem to find what they need, and we try to make sure that we adjust the site over time.
So you have an
Internal wiki or SharePoint, right, Other questions? Yes, please.
how many developers are there?
So at least 3,000. Oh, we need to speed up? Oh, sorry, I need to repeat the question. How many developers are there? At least 3,000. It varies somewhat depending on our